Just a quick video today. We had a little issue with some weather here and this tree has gone down. Unfortunately, it's right in the road, literally right where I need to work at. So back here behind me is a separate piece of land that we're going to be building a house for my father. And unfortunately, this tree has gone down right on the road that I use to get up to that piece of land. And I've got permits in the works right now for the sewer and the well, and the tree's got to move. So we're going to do a quick video today just on removing this tree and some of the tools that we're going to use to do that. What I've got here is chainsaw. Obviously, this is your go-to move when you need to cut a tree. There's a lot of smaller branches here, though, that I really don't feel the chainsaw is necessary for. Now, while I do love a chainsaw and we'll make quick work of this tree, a lot of this really just doesn't require it. When you're using a chainsaw, obviously you're going to have some gas in it, unless it's an electric one, but electric ones are just garbage. Not really going to do much for you. So we got to put gas in this thing, and we also have to put chain and bar lube in it. Now that's going to be the lubrication that lubricates the chain while it works. A lot of people forget this. If it's not properly lubricated, you will smoke the chain pretty quickly. So we're only going to use this when it becomes necessary to use it. We're going to get started with the Sawzall, because in the Sawzall, we go the opposite. Now, they make battery-operated Sawzalls, which are great for doing remote stuff like this when you're working in a field. My problem with that is Sawzalls take a lot of juice, particularly depending on what you're cutting with it, and it will smoke your batteries. The fuel batteries for the Milwaukees are kind of expensive, and it's just silly to do that when I'm only about 100, maybe 100 feet from the building where I have some power. So we just ran a couple of extension cords. We've got power up here. I'll be able to make pretty quick work of the smaller branches. Now, I've got the truck backed up here, and I put the little banger trailer on there so that we can just throw a bunch of crap in there and we can get it over to where the burning happens on the property. So here we have our bar and chain oil. We've obviously got some pre-mixed 2-stroke gasoline for this. Now, this is the chain that was on it when I found it. I haven't really used this chainsaw yet. I do like to use things until they are useless, so we're going to go ahead and fire it up with this chain on there. I have an extra chain in case we run into some issues or we break this one. But that's what we're going to need for that. Obviously, we have tunes, tape recorder for special music. Bonus points if you know what movie that's from. And then, of course, I have my daily Coke. I try to limit myself to 12 ounces a day. It's terrible advice. And then we have here in this little tube, we have a nice little joint for the conclusion of the project, because there's nothing better than finishing up something and having a nice little J while you enjoy the spoils of your labor. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing cracking and try to get this tree out of the way. So we're going to try and be systematic about this. We're going to work on some of the smaller stuff here first. This will be easy to load up. And then once we get to the trunk, we'll have to pull out the chainsaw. Now, one of the things I forgot to mention, safety glasses. Not really huge on safety, and I've been very lucky. I have all my fingers. So I've been known to ignore my eye safety. I was always taught to watch your fingers. Nobody ever said anything about my eyes, and I've had a couple of close calls lately that have led me to the conclusion that I would like to have both my eyes until I'm dead. So, safety glasses, important. So we're going to go ahead and just get started in a way that'll help me make some room here, and we'll get going. See, and this just makes, the Sawzall makes really quick work of stuff like this. and requires no lube, no gas, no chain running. This will only run when I'm pulling the trigger. So I just find this to be a much better method for the small stuff. Now, some of the branches are hanging in a nice easy way for me to cut them. We're going to get to some branches that have pressure on them. We're going to get to some of the ones that are being pressed down on. I shoved this blade in there, I'm going to get bound up. So we're going to take off some of these top ones first, and then we'll get into the harder stuff. Now, if I were smarter, I would have started working closer to the trailer. Probably would have made sense. Now, I call this trailer the Banger, if it's not obvious. It's okay. So, now the only problem with the corded Sawzall is that it has a cord. And I'm dragging it through these trees and I keep unplugging it. So, if you've never seen this before, little trick, plug it in, give yourself a little fold. I like to fold on the female end. Give yourself more of the actual cord for the tool. When you're on your own, when you're at your own house and you're doing your own projects, there's no OSHA. There's nobody here to tell me about safety. So there's nothing stopping us from doing dumb shit, which is what I'm going to do now. I mean, I probably should just get a ladder out here, and eventually I'm going to have to, but I am an impatient person. So I'm going to do something kind of dumb, and maybe we'll catch a nice incident on camera of me doing something dumb. One of the things that's nice about the Sawzall is that it is one-handed operation. You really shouldn't be operating a chainsaw with one hand, but we can easily pull this off. And this branch is getting a little thick. This is probably a little more than I should be tackling, but again, I'm not putting the chainsaw above my head like this. All right, we got the first load done here. This trailer is not exactly, heavy loading, so we're gonna just go ahead and stop here. We're not taking this on the road or anything, so I just threw one strap on it just so I don't lose anything on my way to the other side of the property. All right, so we're getting pretty close to chainsaw time here. So what we're working on here is the second trailer full. So this is the second full trailer, made up of mostly just like the branches and the leaves. And then all of these trunks will get chopped up for firewood for a later time. Once again, you want to be very careful of binding the blade on the chainsaw. You do it with a Sawzall, not really that big of a deal. Sawzall blade is flexible, and it's going to want to bend with you if you're doing something stupid. But the chainsaw does not bend. If you tweak this, you're looking at breaking the chain. It's got to stay straight, and you're going to want to watch where this thing goes, because if it kicks at you, there's really not much stopping it from chopping your legs off. So once again, keep her lubed up, and just be very careful what you're doing. I've got this branch here that's above my head, which is ideal. When we're cutting firewood length stuff, it's easier when you got a nice suspension here, but this is too high above my head. I don't want to cut this up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lop this guy right here, and I'm going to start my cuts here as I work my way back. And then again, you're going to want to be very careful trying to cut something that may have pressure on it. So this main trunk right here, it's off the ground right here. I can stick my boot right underneath of it. But down here, it's heavy on the ground, and down here it's obviously thick and pressed into the ground. So if I start cutting right here, at some point it's going to want to drop down, and it's going to pinch my blade. And getting the chainsaw blade out of that situation is going to be pretty difficult. So we don't want that. So what'll have to happen is I'm going to trim this thing down to as light as that I can get it, and then start whacking at the ends here in a place that I know it will be safe to cut. So it's going to get a little tricky as I try to cut this up, but this is really our firewood section now. So I'm cutting pieces that are going to be easily stackable. They'll dry out nice. And another little tip when you're cutting is when you're cutting stuff for firewood is you want to be very careful of the angle in which you cut it at. You want the angle, this is actually really terrible, so don't use this as your perfect example, but when you set this on a log to split it, you want it to sit straight up. If you start cutting weird angles, it's going to be really hard to slice that wood. So let's go ahead and let's get this thing fired up and we'll do some more cutting. Don't forget your safety glasses. Now at the end, I'm just going to whack off the part that's unsafe. And then we can proceed to just the pieces of firewood. Now once again, you're trying to cut very perpendicular to the wood and be careful of your binding. Now this is not the greatest chain. I've had better, but like I said, I like to waste things till they're not usable anymore, so we're going to go ahead and smoke this chain today. Smoke the chainsaw. Like I said, she's kind of old. She's got a new spark plug and I tuned her up a little bit when I found it. And for as old as it is, it actually runs really, really well. But she's probably been sitting in that building over there for quite a while. Now you'll see me doing a little bit more kind of sawing with it than I probably should be, but again, the chain's not exactly awesome. But just be very careful what you're doing and everything will be fine. We have this branch right here. This is just going to be a nice little example. We have this branch here and it's touching the ground down here. So the pressure, and you can see it kind of split. It sort of split right here. So as I was cutting into this, trying to separate these two pieces, I started to tell that it was wanting to push up on me, wanting to bind on me. So I came back here and I started at a diagonal and I worked my way down diagonally to where the cut had kind of finished up. And then now I've lost this whole piece here, which now I'm down to a thickness that the Sawzall should actually be able to take care of. And I may just slide in here and cut this here. But as soon as you start to notice that it's trying to pinch your chain, you got to get out of there. Now, I'm no expert at running a chainsaw, so I'm sure that there's some tricks here that I'm missing. But the main thing is, just like with any tool, especially a cutting tool, is you do not want that binding. That binding is bad. It's dangerous, and so you just got to figure out a way. So cutting in from the side, I was able to get the chunk out that I had already kind of sliced, and now I have less of a problem with the pressure. The pressure's been relieved. Now this is that branch that I just cut off. I'll be taking smaller sections of the tree and just propping them up on the old banger here. And it's going to make my cutting significantly easier. So we can just kind of whack these off and it's going to look good. Oops. Glasses. Just filling the trailer with the stuff that I want to save as firewood. So this is getting a little tedious, taking a little bit more time now. We're cutting down nice little lengths for storage for firewood. And then got a little pile here in the middle of just the rest of the leafy stuff that'll go on the burn pile. The small branches, the leaves and stuff, that's going to dry out a lot faster. So I'm going to leave that in a pile over there right next to where we do most of our burning. It's basically our s'mores pit. It's an old trough. But it's going pretty well. I'm losing my light, but I think we're going to be fine. It's 6:30 now. There may be a little bit of the trunk left, but at least the area that I needed to drive, and this area here, which right behind me here, is where the driveway is going to be, the driveway that leads up to my dad's house. Okay, so now we're going to get a little crafty. I do 99% of the work that I do by myself, and that's sort of by circumstance, sort of by choice. I just prefer to do things myself. It's just the way that I am. However, sometimes that can cause a problem because some jobs just need two people. So you got to get used to using different fulcrums and levers and whatever you can find to try and help yourself. So what I really need is, we've got the main part of the trunk down here. This is the heavy part, probably the part I'm going to leave for another day. It's not in my way. But I have the rest of this that I'd like to get rid of today. It's in the area that I mow. It's in the area that I need to work. So I just went out to the garage and I grabbed myself a nice little car jack here. And we're going to just go ahead and lift this log. And what this is going to do is get the short end, or the thinner end, up off the ground high enough for me to whack it with the chainsaw all the way back to where my jack is. So now we've got the end up off the ground nice and easy, and by the time I get done chopping that off, we're going to have a lot less wood to deal with. The rest of this here is pretty thick, going to be pretty heavy, but we'll deal with that another time. But what I'll do is, before I lower this jack, I'll take one of the logs that I cut and I'll place it underneath, and then give myself another stretch that I can cut with the chainsaw. So again, just, sometimes you got to think outside the box when you're working by yourself. This really was probably, would have probably been a little easier as a two-man operation, but we've got a trailer full of firewood here, and as far as trees going down, this isn't exactly what I planned to do with my Sunday, but the tree went down. Got to deal with it. And I would say I probably have, 5 hours. About 5 hours in this project. And I got another hour or so to go for the cleanup and stacking this wood. So, a short day, and the tree's gone. So that's a wrap for today. I'm a little burnt, I'm losing light, so I'm just gonna leave this, the jack and all the scrap sitting here. But now that I've got my road back, I can now finish my road up to the other house, and then all these leaves and stuff I'll just mulch up with the lawnmower. But that's a pretty successful day. We'll head over to the burn area and just kind of top it off with how everything ended up. Overall, success. And this is what we've ended up with. We got a pretty decent pile of crap there, but again, that'll dry out quickly. We'll be able to get it in the fire, no problem. This stuff here, I'll probably let this sit a little bit longer. It's pretty dry already. That tree was not in great shape. There's a little bit more stuff to cut up there, obviously. So this will get a little bit bigger, but we really only have fires out here for making s'mores and screwing around. So this will last a long time. We'll get it all burnt up. But now, what's really nice to do, whatever it is that you do to unwind, is to have a end of the day J. We'll go ahead and have a little smoke here and take a ride through the property and kind of enjoy the spoils of the labor. Catch you next time.